I was born into a Hindu family till the age of about 24. I was a practicing Hindu in a way, in a very superficial way. Enjoyed the festivities, getting dressed up and things like that. That was the fun bit, but I never took any meaning out of the festivals. All the different gods just confused me. And it was funny, I always had an idea about there being only one God. It didn't relate to any religion, but just that was my personal belief. And I stuck with that. I never looked at religions at all, but that was my personal thoughts. And it didn't have a name, it wasn't this God or that God, and it wasn't the God for Monday and it wasn't God for Tuesday as Hinduism is. So yeah, I did all the fun things, and but stuck to my own personal belief really. For me, it was very much a background thing. As I said, it was just the fun things of socialising with everybody, getting together at Diwali time, taking part in the Diwali festival, the dancing and all that kind of stuff. But that was just fun. And even through my teenage years, it was just going through all that teenage angst. And for me, religion as such was very much a background thing. Although my dad's a practicing Hindu, but he never played a very big part in my life. We were very close, I'm one of two sisters, and we were close to my mum, and she wasn't practicing in that way. She was very much like us. It's only later on in her life, after I converted, that she started to practice a little bit more, but still very much with the Western mentality. So I went to university and I did a Bachelor of Commerce and became an accountant, and so started my career always with that thought in my mind that, you know, I'll believe what I'll believe, and respect my parents that they wanted to believe in Hinduism, which was fine, that was it. But I never went searching, and I never thought about Islam because, like a lot of people, I just saw what was in the media. And that was it for me, you know, no way, I'm not even going to go near there, you know. So went through university, you know, typical student, you know, the pubs, you know, the going out, everything like that, did all that. Finished university and started my career. And it was just through meeting people and reading and them giving me books and just becoming acquainted with Muslims, that I finally realised that, hey, what I'm seeing in the media is not what it's all about. They're Muslims, but that's not Islam. It took a very short time for me to realise that this was for me. This is what actually I was believing in all this time, for 10 years, going through my teenage years. This is what I believed in, and so it just clicked. It just basically clicked. And so I became a Muslim. I took my shahada at the beginning of 1996. It's just over 10 years I've been a Muslim, and then I married my husband at the end of 96. And just, I'm still learning, you know. It's a journey, basically, and I don't think I'll ever stop learning. I've now got a very close-knit network of friends, and so we have all this support. Now we have children, so it's a very important part of my life now. Before I became a Muslim, I wasn't doing anything in particular, just, you know, just the typical Kiwi, you know, get up, go to university, go to parties and things like that. I didn't have anything regular I was doing, you know. And then when I became a Muslim, I started becoming aware of what I was doing and how I should be doing things. Obviously for that first year when I wasn't married, it was very difficult because I was on my own. I hadn't actually told my parents that I had become a Muslim, so I was doing things very much on the sly, so to speak. Just basic things like food and things like that. I was avoiding the meat, and I stopped drinking, and my social life kind of cut down, but I didn't do it in a way that they were going to think, hang on, something's wrong in their eyes. To me it was all right, but from their point of view, you know, something's not right. Until it was time that it just had to all come out, and as I expected, they took it very badly. But once I got married and then moved in with my husband and his mum, I would watch what they were doing because I hadn't learnt how to pray yet, for one thing. So I would watch my husband pray. So the kind of, when I first learned to pray, it was actually how the men pray, and I didn't realise there was subtle differences between the way women and men pray. So things like that. It was just through watching, through my husband's guidance and reading, and just making those changes very slowly. I wasn't pushed into anything. It was just basically in my own time, because I was still working, still adjusting with the fact that my parents had basically decided that they just didn't want to have anything to do with me. So I was coping with the fact that I had lost my family. Everything happened very, very slowly, but the one thing was that I was starting to make cautious effort as to what everybody around me was doing. And alhamdulillah, my mother-in-law, she became my mother, and she's very spiritual, she's very strong in her deen, and so she's been a very good role model for me. And also my husband, he does a lot of reading and things like that, so I could ask all the questions that I needed from them. And it was probably 6-7 months after I kind of started to actually learn how to pray properly, because before I was just doing the motions. I didn't actually know what I was saying, what to say and things like that. And as I became more comfortable, I just started to learn. I didn't wear that straight away. It took me probably 6-7 months with that as well, just to get comfortable with it. And I used to wear it to work. I kind of did it the opposite to a lot of other sisters I know who have reverted to Islam. They used to wear it in the weekends and not to work. Well, I started wearing it to work and not in the weekends. And it was, the funny thing was, my husband didn't even realise I was wearing it, because he used to go to work before me. I'd go to work with my scarf on. I'd come home and take it off, and then he'd come home, and then one day he went to work late and he saw me wearing my scarf, and I was like, what? So alhamdulillah, it just, everything comes, alhamdulillah, when it gets into your heart, and when I'm ready, and Allah guides you. When I started wearing the scarf, it was funny. It was actually after the death of my husband's grandmother, and during the time when people used to come and sit, I wore the scarf out of respect. And just from wearing it that one day, I felt, well, I feel really comfortable with this. I'll just see how I go, type of thing. So I started wearing it to work, and the first few days I just said it was because of the death in the family. I didn't want to explain. I wasn't quite ready for that yet. And then as I got more comfortable with it, I was wearing it every day. And they weren't shocked or anything like that. They were just curious. They would just ask me outright, because they knew me very well. I'd been at that job for nearly 3 years, so they knew me really well. And so they were quite comfortable to come up to me and say, hey, what's that thing on your head? And I would explain to them, why I was wearing it. And once they got the explanation, they were happy. They didn't bother me about it. They were fine about it. It was just, I just looked a little bit different. Otherwise, in terms of dealing with me at work, it was the same. I'd come down to them, we'd talk the same, everything was the same, basically. I didn't notice it straight away, but the way they talked to me was a little bit different. Sometimes they wouldn't actually look at me eye to eye. It was like, it was showing respect. And I noticed that even more when I went to work. I used to work, from there I went to another job, and I used to work for AFCO at their head office. And it was amazing when I used to go down to the meat plants, and of course I'd never seen a Muslim woman. And just the response from them, they have 6-foot giant men looking at me, and they would just kind of bow their head. They just couldn't look me in the eye. It was amazing, and it was just, everybody knew who I was, because I was the only woman that wore the scarf, so that everybody knew who I was. And it was good, it was great, because they'd talk to me on the phone, and then they'd see me, and they were just like, they didn't know what to do. In a way, it was, alhamdulillah, I got a great response, because people started asking questions about Islam. New Zealand can benefit from what we see in Islam, the rights of women. You go in the motorway, you see these billboards of women, and you just think, they just got no clue, absolutely no idea what they're doing, And they have no idea just how much respect, Muslim women have in the house, with other sisters, with brothers, because we are respected for our deen, we are respected for our intellect, we're not respected for our bodies, we're not seen as sexual objects, and I think New Zealand women need to see that they're not sex objects, they're people, Allah Ta'ala made them, and they need to be treated equally as men. And Islam can give a lot, and we had a lot of rights way before non-Muslims did, and that was one of the things that I found surprising when I first started reading, was the books I did read were specifically about women. And because that was the biggest thing about Islam was, what we see on TV, and the first thing you think about, and I'm sure most people do, is women are oppressed. You see them covered head to toe, they're oppressed, that's it. That's the end of the story. And to know that we had rights when Islam came in, and these women are losing their rights. They haven't come forward, they've gone backward. And I think Islam, in terms of women's rights, can give a lot to New Zealand. They can show them the way that women can be respected for the right reasons, not the wrong reasons. I feel I'm lucky that I've been brought up in New Zealand, and I'm a Muslim in New Zealand. I think because it makes us a lot stronger than that. We have to be aware of the differences between non-Muslims and Muslims, and we have to be aware of our surroundings, of protecting our children. It's not like you're in a Muslim country, you take a lot of things for granted. You're eating halal food, there's no alcohol, there's a mosque around the corner, there's, your children are playing with Muslim children, all those types of things. We don't have that luxury here. We have to always be on our guard. And I think that makes us, personally, I think as a mother as well, it makes me a lot stronger, because I have to be aware of what my daughter is doing. And she is following what I'm doing. I don't want her to follow the next door neighbours, the ladies next door, or what she's seeing on TV and things like that. So I have to be stronger for them, because they are the next generation, and they're in a time when things are really hard for Muslims. And we have to be strong and positive about our identities, not be scared of being Muslim, and being proud of our religion. So alhamdulillah, I'm glad I'm in New Zealand and I'm not in the Middle East, because we have a harder job, and I think that makes us, although we have to do the hard work, it does pay off, alhamdulillah. And I want to see my children growing up as good Muslims, inshallah.